The construction industry has declined during the past quarter. This is the fifth consecutive quarter in a row that the construction industry has declined. The value has reduced by 2 billion rand. The industry is calling for urgent intervention. Contractual and legal manager at MBA North, Envia Iman, joins us now. It's an industry that was looking forward to a lot of capital-intensive, money coming in from government, with the National Development Plan saying it's going to be a R1 trillion budget, but it seems to be slacking every year.
Yeah, no, I mean, if we look at our history in our past few years that we look at our budget, it has had an actual nosedive, going from infrastructure development from our government side. Now, the amount of money that is available and that has been put out for infrastructure development is actually where we need to see action from government in order for our contractors and for the entire economy to also have growth that is coming out of the construction industry itself.
But it almost doesn't make sense, because when you drive around the likes of Sandton and around Gauteng, you see all sorts of buildings coming up, new buildings, construction always happening all the time. But is that not translating into margins for the construction companies?
I think what we need to remember is that this work that is done in, let's say for an example, Waterfall, or in Cape Town, or in Sandton that we specifically refer to, the work is done by private clients. Now, the infrastructure development that you will need to see will need to, if there's infrastructure development, that will in effect mushroom out further private jobs that will then also see further economic growth and further foreign infrastructure development as well that we will see there.
What has been some of the effects of the slowdown? I mean, surely companies are closing down, and how's employment in the sector?
Right, so of course we are seeing a lot of shortage of work in the public sector. That is leading to shortage of cash flows that we will also further then see. These companies are undercutting themselves to literally just stay in business. Companies are operating at losses, which leads to them not having the necessary cash flows to pay their subcontractors or their suppliers. All of this has a knock-on effect that can lead to the closing down of various businesses. I mean, we've seen so many. We've seen two of our.
Reed is an example.
Exactly, they have just applied for business rescue, and early in the year we saw the likes of NMC also going into the liquidation processes. Now, that is definitely going to have a knock-on effect, leading to the closing down of various subcontractors as well. And suppliers not having the necessary confidence in business confidence in the main contractors in order to supply them with the necessary materials even further. This will also have a further effect. I mean, we know that the construction industry is such a big employer of people, and not necessarily only through our main contractors, but specifically the subcontractors.
Spin-offs.
Yes, they are the ones that do 70% of the work on these contracts, and they are the major employers of these employees. Those are the people that we definitely need to protect as well.
On the government side, there's a lack of spending, although there should be in place. On the private side, clients looking for less and less in terms of charging for the work. So there's no winning, basically, for construction companies right now. But where would the light be coming from? I mean, there's renewable projects for government coming up. What's there for the private sector in order to give work to these companies?
Look, if we firstly talk about the public sector and that renewable energy works that is coming up, that is still a long way down the pipelines. I mean, the funding has and the contracts have only been approved now. So it's going to be very long down the line before we are actually going to see this growth in that specific part as well. When we are talking about the private clients, we will need to have a little bit more certainty when we're coming to for the property owners specifically. And I think the property owners are a little bit wary at the moment for taking on any further work, especially with no or very little foreign infrastructure development that we also see.
So as a small construction company, how do you stay afloat? Because the bigger guys obviously can sell off a few assets that they've acquired throughout the years. But as a smaller guy, you're looking for the contract to be signed and the invoice to be paid for you to get along. But if there is no work, how do you stay afloat?
Absolutely. And I mean, prompt payments and delayed payments that we are seeing is such a important part for our industry, and to ensure that there is actually payment on the dates that is required. If we talk about, we are urging the public sector to adhere to the requirements and to to heed the call of our president that was raised in his SONA as well, where it was raised that the 30-day payment structure needs to be specifically adhered to in order for our SMMEs to be protected. When we're talking about the private clients, they are the ones that are adhering to good business practices, and we are certain.
But are they not asking you for less prices, though?
Of course, they are asking. I think they are advised continuously by professionals and by consultants on their side to reduce their own fees and to reduce costs throughout the construction projects. And all of this, if you're going to look at the entire practice of it, it's a race to the bottom.
All right, concrete, tough times there in the construction industries. That was a contractual and legal manager at MBA North, Envia Iman. Now a quick look back